tried unless the conduct of the accused person makes it impossible for the trial to proceed. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President was taken ill, according to what the council reported to this House. And Mr. Speaker, we did not give him an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I draw your attention also to our Constitution, Article 145, Clause 5. The President shall have the right to appear and, not or, and be represented before the special committee, Mr. Speaker. We did not give him that opportunity. Mr. Speaker, because I can see my time is wearing out, if not for anything, Mr. Speaker, I ask this House, you cannot condemn a sick person. Any one of us can get sick. I want to appeal to my colleagues, Mr. Speaker. Nobody chooses when to get sick and when to be in good health. You cannot, we cannot afford to judge a person, to condemn a person when they are in hospital, Mr. Speaker. And so I want to appeal to the members of this House that if not for anything else, you consider that the Deputy President has been taken ill and show the necessary compassion. And Mr. Speaker, I want to my majority leader is here, and he made a statement that was very disturbing, that even those that are saying that it can bring division should.
Senator Mogeni.
Mr. Speaker, sir, first on my own behalf and on behalf of the people of the great county of Nyamira, I want to send a message of quick recovery to His Excellency President Rigathi, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Mr. Speaker, the Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1, that there is a season for everything. There is a season to be born politically and a season to die politically. That's biblical. The Speaker, I've agonized. Mr. Speaker, I've gone through a lot of soul searching. Mr. Speaker, as I listened to the evidence that was tendered against, as I listened, Mr. Speaker.
Just pause the time for Senator Mogeni. Let us allow Senator Mogeni to be heard in total silence, please.
As a lawyer and a person who witnessed the birth of the 2010 Constitution, Mr. Speaker, I strongly believe, Mr. Speaker, that Kenya belongs to all the 42 plus tribes, Mr. Speaker. And what has disturbed me, Mr. Speaker, for the 2 days I've sat here, Mr. Speaker, what would happen to my community in Kisii and in Nyamira if we ran our government through this theory of shareholding? Mr. Speaker, as I speak tonight, Mr. Speaker, the people of the two counties of Omogusi, Nyamira and Kisii, are victims of that theory of shareholding. That community, Mr. Speaker, called Omogusi, has got no even a single PS serving in government, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we speak this evening, Mr. Speaker, the Omogusi people, Mr. Speaker, have been the biggest victims of this theory of shareholding. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution that we enacted in 2010, in Article 27, Mr. Speaker, clearly states that we should not discriminate, Mr. Speaker. I hope, Mr. Speaker, when I cast my vote tonight, I'll be sending a message from the people of Nyamira, Mr. Speaker, that a government is formed for all the tribes in the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. I've agonized, Mr. Speaker, on the issues that have been brought in this motion, touching on the widow and the children of the late Governor for Nyeri, Gachagua. And Mr. Speaker, I wondered if adverse statements and inferences have been made touching on the conduct of the Deputy President against the widow of the former governor and the children of the late governor, the nephews of the deputy president. Why, Mr. Speaker? I ask as a father, why, Mr. Speaker, did the widow and the children of the late Governor Gachagua swear an affidavit to dispel all the things that have been said against a scheme of swindling those children? Why, Mr. Speaker? Why didn't they swear an affidavit, Mr. Speaker? That has troubled me a lot. And as I cast my vote tonight, Mr. Speaker, I'll be casting my vote for those children who lost their mother, who lost their father, but who were not given an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to appear before this House and tell us, Mr. Speaker, that there has not been any wrongdoing from the deputy president to those children. Count number 1, count number 8 is about the utterances that were made by the deputy speaker. I hope, Mr. Speaker, that the person who will occupy that coveted position of deputy president will reflect on what John says in chapter 3, verse 5. Mr. Speaker, the Bible says that the tongue is a small part of the body, but the tongue is also fire, and it's a world of evil among parts of the body. If the deputy president had checked his utterances, Mr. Speaker, perhaps we will not be having this motion this evening. So, as we vote tonight, Mr. Speaker, let's also learn. Let's also learn from what the tongue has done to Honorable Gachagua. I will vote, Mr. Speaker, where I'm convinced that allegations against the deputy president have been proved. I reserve my vote to be cast at the right time.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the position of the Deputy President of Kenya is very high. It is a very high calling. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as we make a decision on the Deputy President of Kenya, I want to remind him that of those to whom more is given, indeed, more is expected of them. And he should not feel that he is being victimized because, Mr. Speaker, the highest standard of this Constitution in 2013, by dint of lack of integrity, the Deputy Chief Justice, Nancy Barasa, lost her job merely because she pinched the nose of Kwamboka. The Deputy President indeed did worse than pinching the nose of somebody. Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President, seeing the allegations against him, I can't imagine that he moves around with the moninga of man of faith and truthful man. Mr. Speaker, if really we must talk about faith, may I remind the Deputy President of a man of faith, a man of letters called Bill Paul. Bill Paul said, man of faith, that integrity is like virginity. You lose it only once. And when you lose it, you can never get it back. The Deputy President has lost that virginity of leadership. Mr. Speaker, coming from a community that paid for the price of inflammatory speeches in Likoni, in Molo, and in Trans Nzoia, if I had time, I would discuss what some of my relatives went through, including Pastor Yai from Ichina village. Mr. Speaker, during the tribal clashes of 1992 and 1997. I would like to remind the Deputy President of the post-election violence of 2007, 2008. One of the reasons why we had to have this progressive constitution that will be removing him, hopefully, this evening from office. Mr. Speaker, even as we ask the Deputy President to leave office, we must insist that the DCI and the ESCC and other investigative institutions must pursue this matter beyond this vote. I have on mind, Mr. Speaker, the activities of the intricate web of companies up to 22, so to speak. The reason I believe young Mutuse could not bring all this, dear senators, colleagues, is because effort requires money, requires time to do all that research. Some of them you have to do clandestine for you to get information. I believe that if the Deputy President had taken the dog, we were going to completely undress him. We would have asked him to justify what activities each and every one of those companies was doing. It's part of the reason why he stepped down, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have evidence, which I don't wish to be part of the case, that as soon as the Deputy President's brother died, the wife went to the corporate branch of the cooperative bank and started crying there that the manager should stop the Deputy President from operating these accounts. Mr. Speaker, finally, the Deputy President must be investigated for the role.
Senator Eddy.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you, and I recognize the pressure of time. Mr. Speaker, I am here because of the kindness of the people of Migori County who sent me here that at such a time, Mr. Speaker, I need to be cautious of the Article 125 of the Constitution, which requires us as a House that in matters such as this, Mr. Speaker, we must behave like judges, because under Article 125 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, we sit as a High Court, Mr. Speaker. And in the words of Socrates, Mr. Speaker, a judge is required to listen courteously, to answer wisely, to consider soberly, and definitely to decide impartially, Mr. Speaker. There were 11 charges, Mr. Speaker, that were put before us, Mr. Speaker, and they were put to us in the context of Constitution 2010, Mr. Speaker. The Constitution 2010, Mr. Speaker, came in the backdrop of two very important historic moments in this country, Mr. Speaker, that I must reflect on, Mr. Speaker. Number one, Mr. Speaker, is the section paper number 10 of 1965, Mr. Speaker. That section paper number 10, Mr. Speaker, divided this country into those who are important and those who are not important. The language that was used then, Mr. Speaker, was the idea of northern frontier districts, Mr. Speaker, that then discriminated upon some communities, Mr. Speaker, against others, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, in 2007, Mr. Speaker, this country was divided on the basis of ethnicity, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I rise to support this motion if my grounds, Mr. Speaker, after listening courteously and considering soberly, Mr. Speaker, are more than half of the charges, Mr. Speaker. And I find that ground 1, 5, and 6 on the utterances of the Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, violate Article 91 of the Constitution and Article 232 of the Constitution. We cannot have political parties, Mr. Speaker, that are founded on the basis of ethnicity and dividing national resources on the basis of ethnicity, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, that would make the ground number 4, which actually also happened to be reason number 4 for why the Deputy President must leave office, Mr. Speaker, the violation of Article 160 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, of undermining the judiciary, Mr. Speaker. There was an imminent threat to the judges there, Mr. Speaker. You realize that in my judgment, Mr. Speaker, I excuse ground number 8 on the basis of the fact that there was no proof that there was a petition that was not filed, Mr. Speaker. But on the threat, Mr. Speaker, I think that the Deputy President stands impeached, Mr. Speaker. Ground number 9, Mr. Speaker, on NIS, Mr. Speaker. We know that this country has faced serious terror attacks, Mr. Speaker. And the moment the Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, showcases the secrecy of deficiency in our security infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, and you know that under Article 240, he has platforms to be able to express himself, Mr. Speaker, it is a violation of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, on ground number 11, Mr. Speaker, on bullying KEMSA official, Mr. Speaker, it has been proven here beyond reasonable doubt, Mr. Speaker, that the Deputy President is not a member of the company that was listed. He's not an employee of that company, Mr. Speaker, yet he goes ahead and makes calls on behalf of that company, Mr. Speaker. That is impeachable. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I must call the Council of the Deputy President to order, Mr. Speaker, especially Council Paul Muite, Mr. Speaker, for actually practicing law in deceit, Mr. Speaker. You cannot say that at the level of the Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, he was okay in this house the entire time, and then when asked, you are saying you cannot be able to account for his whereabouts, and you know that the Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, also must be able to be taken care of by the DG of Health, Mr. Speaker, who could have given us a document to be able to substantiate whether the Deputy President is sick, Mr. Speaker. While I say sorry to the Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, I think this kind of deceit should also be tantamount to further impeachment, Mr. Speaker. I do, therefore, say that on ground 2, 3, 7, 8, and 10, they are not substantiated. But on ground 1, 5, 6, 4, 9, and 11, Mr. Speaker, this is a fight against tribalism that is done by one individual that then we must...
Senator Osotsi, unfortunately, you only have 4 minutes because we terminate at exactly 10:30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll be so quick. Mr. Speaker, when the Deputy President was here, I remembered the saying of a famous philosopher, 19th century, Lord Acton, who said, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Mr. Speaker, a few of us here served with the Deputy President in the National Assembly. And when we were there in the National Assembly, the Deputy President was a very humble man, very simple, very social, and was rare to talk. But listening to the judges and having seen what has been happening around, this is not the same man. This is a different man. So indeed, I want to agree with this philosopher that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is, it may affect all of us here. So there is something we need to learn from what has happened today. Mr. Speaker, I also want to congratulate the members here for their decency and maturity in conducting a fair trial. Mr. Speaker, it is not true that the Deputy President has not been given a hearing. We had to adjourn this House for 2 hours to wait for the witness to come. He didn't come. And Mr. Speaker, you know that the tradition of this House, that sometimes we receive written submissions. We do that in our committees. We do that in public participation. So the members who are saying that he was not given a fair hearing, is that that is not true, because this House tried as much as possible to get the Deputy President to come. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said about various laws and articles of the Constitution that the Deputy President has violated. But one important article of the Constitution that runs through all the charges, Mr. Speaker, is Article 131 of the Constitution, which read together with Article 147, clearly says that the Deputy President is a symbol of national unity. That is not the case, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you go ahead, Article 131(2) says that the Deputy President, by dint of Article 147, should respect and uphold and safeguard the Constitution. That is not the case. The Deputy President should promote and enhance the unity of the nation. That is not the case. The Deputy President should promote respect for diversity of the people and communities in Kenya. Mr. Speaker, that is not the case. So if there is any piece of law that is going to send the Deputy President home, is clear violation of Article 131 of the Constitution, because the Deputy President is a principal assistant to the President, and therefore exercises powers of the President as per Article 131 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, if there is one charge, because we have 11 charges, that is going to send the Deputy President home, it's charge number 1. I listened to the evidence that was brought here by his counsel. That evidence of the coalition agreement of Kenya Kwanza was not sufficient, was not convincing. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy President conveniently hid from...
Your time is up. Majority Leader, you may now move to reply.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to hereby reply, having listened to the contributions of my colleagues on this very important motion on trial by impeachment of the Deputy President, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. I want to thank colleagues that have taken time to give their views, both in support and those opposing this motion, because that's how you grow a democracy, Mr. Speaker. We may not all have to agree on the same subject matter, Mr. Speaker, but the chance to even speak and say what you feel about an issue is an important attribute. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, I agree with the contribution that was made by one of the advocates for the Assembly, that comparing what you're doing today with previously what used to happen, where in the 1 o'clock news, vice presidents will be changed without any notice. And the elaborate process, Mr. Speaker, that we have gone through up to this point is great for our country. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the National Assembly, the team of the Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, that has presented us with information to help us make a fair judgment of this case. Mr. Speaker, I strongly disagree with those that hold the view that the Senate hasn't been as fair to the Deputy President as perhaps they would have expected. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Speaker, I think as a House, we did the best that was within our means. We granted the opportunity, was given sufficient notice, Mr. Speaker. It is only in the unfortunate circumstance of this afternoon where he was taken ill, Mr. Speaker, and I'd wish to take this time to extend my message of goodwill to him and wish that he can quickly recover and get on with his other duties, Mr. Speaker, both as a human being and should, whichever way this vote goes, Mr. Speaker, because it's not in my hands, but in the hands of the 67 jury that are here, Mr. Speaker, that he shall continue to thrive. I wish him well, Mr. Speaker. Like I observed earlier, this is a friend, and friends wish each other well under all circumstances. Mr. Speaker, you know, just as a final thought, I thought about the journey of the Deputy President and the tribulations that have occurred to him as occurrence to either his conduct or utterances And I'm reminded of a book I once read, Mr. Speaker, by Senegalese satirist Osman Sembene, a book called Hala, where, Mr. Speaker, a very rich businessman by the name El Haji looks and desires a beautiful young lady by the name Ngone, and finally takes her in as a third wife. Unfortunately, on the same night that he marries her, he develops erectile dysfunction, Mr. Speaker, and is not able to consummate the marriage. Sometimes in life, Mr. Speaker, when you fall down, you have to prepare to get down before you eventually can rise up, Mr. Speaker. I do hope, Mr. Speaker, that even in this particular process, the Deputy President will emerge stronger, better, as a human being, as a leader, and that there can be better days ahead for him. With those very many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply and wish that our colleagues in this House make a decision in the best interest of the country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now, honorable senators, these are the guidelines on how we're going to move forward. One, all honorable senators are eligible to cast their votes. Secondly, the threshold is 45 senators. So there ought to be 45 senators in the chamber. And we are going to vote for the charges separately. So we're going to vote 11 times. I now direct that the bell be rung for 2 minutes.
Good evening. These are live proceedings from the Senate chambers, and the senators are done debating the motion that was moved for the removal from office by impeachment. You're watching live pictures from the Senate, where debate has been concluded. Good evening. You are watching live pictures from the Senate chambers, and the senators are done debating the motion that was moved seeking the removal from office by impeachment the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and now they are preparing to take a vote on the 11 charges that were brought forward against the Deputy President. Charge 1, gross violation of Articles 10, Sub-Article 2A and B and C, Article 27, Sub-Article 4, Article 73, Sub-Article 1A and 2B, Article 75, Sub-Article 1C,
Clerk, has the bell stopped ringing? Sergeant at Arms, kindly close the doors and draw the bar. Clerk, can you do a head count to confirm that we have a minimum of 45 senators in the House? Order, honorable senators. Majority Leader, you may take your seat. Now, honorable senators, we are moving to division. I will first put the question. Voting shall be electronically, and we shall be voting on separate charges. So we're going to vote 11 times this evening. I'll proceed to put the question. Honorable senators that are aware that the National Assembly on the 8th of October 2024 resolved, with the support of 282 members, being at least 2/3 of all members of the National Assembly, that pursuant to the provisions of Article 145(2), as read with Article 151(b) and 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Order 65(2) of the National Assembly Standing Orders, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, be removed from office by impeachment on the grounds specified in the special motion. Whereas by a letter reference NA/DLP/TBO/MTS/2024 into brackets 25, dated the 8th of October 2024, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on the 9th of October 2024, the Speaker of the National Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the special motion by the National Assembly, and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the National Assembly. Further, whereas pursuant to Article 145, as read with Article 150, 1B and 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Orders 78 and 79 of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate had the National Assembly on the grounds for the proposed removal from office by impeachment of His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And further, whereas pursuant to Article 145, as read with Article 150, 1B and 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Orders 78 and 79 of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate also had His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, on the grounds of his proposed removal from office by impeachment of the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, therefore, pursuant to Article 145, as read with Article 150, 1B and 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Order 78 and 79 of the Senate Standing Orders, the Senate resolves to remove from office by impeachment His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, on the following grounds. 1. Gross violation of Articles 10, 2A, B, and C, 27.4, 73.1A, and 2B, 75.1C, and 129.2 of the Constitution, and Article 147.1 as read together with Article 131.2C and D of the Constitution. 2. Gross violation of Article 147.1 and 152.1 of the Constitution by undermining the President and the Cabinet and the effective discharge of the national government's executive mandates. Number 3, gross violation of Article 6.2, 10.2A, 174, 186.1, 189.1, and the fourth schedule to the Constitution by undermining devolution. Number 4, gross violation of Article 161 of the Constitution on the institutional and decisional independence of judges. Number 5, gross violation of Articles 3.1 and 148.5A of the Constitution on the fidelity to the oath of office and allegiance. Number 6, serious reason to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed crimes under Section 13.1A and 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act. Number 7, serious reason to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed gross economic crimes under Sections 45.1, 46, 47A3, and 48.1 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, and Sections 2, 3, 4, and 7 of the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act. Number 8, serious reasons to believe that His Excellency the Deputy President has committed crimes by continuously misleading members of the public through false, malicious, defensive, and insightful remarks that are contrary to the provisions of Section 132 of the Penal Code and Section 29 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. Number 9, gross misconduct that is incompatible with the high calling and dignified status of the office of the Deputy President and a member of the Cabinet and the National Security Council. His Excellency, the Deputy President has publicly attacked and undermined the work of the National Security Intelligence Service and its officers. Number 10, gross misconduct by openly or publicly insubordinating the President, who is the head of state and government. And number 11, gross misconduct by persistently bullying state and public officers. As I've already indicated, honorable senators, voting shall be done electronically. So at this juncture, I will ask honorable senators to pull your cards out of the delegate unit. Sergeant at Arms, kindly go around and pick all the unattended delegate cards. Sergeant at Arms, if you're done collecting the unattended cards, we're good. Now, honorable senators, you may log in back. As indicated earlier, we'll be casting our votes 11 times. So the vote you're going to cast at the moment is for charge allegation number 1, which is gross violation of Articles 10(2)(a), B, and C 27(4). I had already read it out. So from this moment, it's beamed on the screens. So honorable senators, once you've logged in, you may now proceed to vote. Senator Tabitha Keroche, may you move to dispatch and get some assistance. We're now going to allegation number 2. It's been beamed on the screen. You may now vote. We shall now move to ground number 3, allegation number 3. Can you beam it? There we are. Honorable Senators, you may now proceed to vote on allegation number 3. We are now going to allegation number 4. Let it be beamed on the screen. Honorable Senators, you may now proceed to vote on ground number 4. Honorable Senators, we are now moving to vote on charge number 5. You may now proceed to vote on charge number 5. Honorable Senators, we are now moving to allegation number 6. Honorable Senators, you may now proceed to vote on allegation number 6. Honorable Senators, we are now going to move to allegation number 7. Honorable Senators, you may now proceed to vote on allegation number 7. Honorable Senators, we are now moving to ground number 8. Honorable Senators, you may now proceed to vote on ground number 8. Senator Karungo, just come to the dispatch, Senator Karungo, and cast your vote. Honorable Senators, we're moving to charge number 9. You may proceed to vote. Honorable Senators, we're moving to charge number 10. You may now proceed to vote. Senator Boni, proceed to dispatch and cast your vote. Honorable Senators, we're now moving to the final charge, charge number 11. You may proceed to vote. Honorable Senator Methu, proceed to dispatch. Senator Karen Nyamu, likewise. Senator Alan Chesang, proceed to the dispatch. Senator Karungo, proceed to the dispatch. Bayo. Senator Miraj, proceed to dispatch and cast your vote. Senator Ojenda, proceed to dispatch. Order, honorable senators. Senator Okoit Omtata, Senator Bass and Senator Oroba, please take your seats. Now the result of the division is as follows. Charge number 1, ayes 54, nays 13, abstention 0. So the ayes have it. Charge number 2, ayes 28, nays 39, abstention 0. So the nays have it. Charge number 3, ayes 19, nays 45, abstention 3. So the nays have it. Charge number 4, the ayes at 51, nays at 16, abstention at 0. The ayes have it. Charge number 5, ayes 49, nays 16, abstention 2. So the ayes have it. Charge number 6, ayes at 48, nays at 18, abstention 1. So the ayes have it. Charge number 7, the ayes 13, nays 53, abstention 1. So the nays have it. Charge number 8, ayes 27, nays 40, abstention 0. So the nays have it. Charge number 9, ayes 46, nays 20, abstention 1. So the ayes have it. Charge number 10, ayes 22, nays 45, abstention 0. The nays have it. Charge number 11, the ayes 18, nays at 47, abstention 2. So the nays have it. Now, honorable senators, the result of the division indicate that the Senate has upheld the following impeachment grounds. 1, gross violation of Articles 10(2)(a), B, and C, 27(4), 73(1)(a), and 2B, 75(1)(c), and 129(2) of the Constitution, and Article 147(1) as read together with Article 131(2)(c) and D of the Constitution. 4, gross violation, ground number 4, gross violation of Article 161 of the Constitution on the institutional and decisional independence of. Ground number 5, gross violation of Articles 3(1) and 148(5)(a) of the Constitution. That is, Excellency, the Deputy President has publicly attacked and undermined work of the National Security Intelligence Service and its officers. Now, honorable senators, pursuant to Article 145(7) and 151(b) and 2 of the Constitution, and Standing Order 78(8) of the Senate has resolved to remove from office by impeachment His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Accordingly, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, EGH, ceases to hold office. I thank you. You may rise, honorable senators. Now, honorable senators, there being no business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 22nd of October, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who has broadcast, has been brought to you courtesy of the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in conjunction with the Kenya Broadcasting Coordinator, Doris Gitonga, and producer Bernard Timbe. My name is Edward Kabasa. Thank you for watching.
Honorable Speaker, I think it is a very unfair accusation that we are impeaching somebody whilst in hospital. It has been said here, Honorable Speaker, that nobody can predict when you can be taken ill. It can happen to any one of us. And therefore, we did not plan that the Deputy President would not be here to also be able to present his case. And as Senator Roba has said, many people were in fact waiting to also get some clarifications from some of the pronouncements that have come from the Deputy President. Honorable Speaker, I want to also thank the parties that have taken time to appear